Welcome to NEXTGames Elder Scrolls Online Dungeon Series. Now I've been away from the game for some time, but getting back into covering all the dungeons and finishing my Dragonknight up. Today, we'll be taking on Icereach dungeon on the normal difficulty. Now at time of recording of 183 champion points, and I'm using a Mother's Sorrow, Mad Tinkerers, Slime Craw, and Pale Order set. My exact gearing and stats for all of these runs is shown at the end of the video. Now the bosses of Icereach are of medium difficulty, and many of them can easily take you down with a single shot if you're not careful. Here we are, starting with the first enemy of the dungeon, who is indeed one of those bosses that you need to use caution on. This is Kjarg the Tuskscraper. Now the main mechanic you need to watch out for on this enemy is the Enrage. This is normally preceded by him screaming the words, "No, no, no, you die now." Once he does this, his eyes will start to glow red, and his abilities will now hit for significantly more damage, normally enough to one-shot you. Now when his eyes are glowing, I recommend you use ranged weapons and kite him around the arena, as even a single heavy attack will end your fight. Speaking of heavy attacks, it's the biggest risk to you here, and can at times one-shot you even when rage is not up, depending on where your health level is at, so always be sure to block or dodge when you see him charging that heavy attack. Now the other abilities you're going to see him use include a series of swings that will send small red circles of damage out in a circle around him, so be sure to avoid those, and Ice Wind, which will actually chase after you as this little tornado. Now you want to continually keep moving around when this wind is present, as you see me doing here. If you actually let that tornado stand on top of you, the damage will steadily increase until such point that it is actually quite dangerous. Now the last thing you will notice this fight is the Ice Atronach that will be summoned during the fight. Now I normally take these out during the times when Enrage is up, or with AoEs when Enrage is down. Now you can use the boss to smash the Atronachs before they spawn, but on this difficulty I feel that's kind of a wasted mechanic. Now this can be one of the longer fights due to the fact that you have to kite during those enraged moments, so let's go ahead and see what the rest of this fight looks like. Here we are now at the second boss and the easiest of the dungeon, Sister Skelga. Now on the veteran difficulty, or if you only deal small amounts of damage with your setup, this fight can be much more challenging. But as long as you go in with your solid DD set, this should be over rather quickly. First, there will be a ring of fire under you for most of this fight when you're soloing it. That's going to be doing small amounts of damage to you. Just go ahead and heal through this. There are also stranglers that will be summoned during the fight around the arena that will use spit attacks on you. Again, simply ignore them in the interest of speed. Now the boss will also cast ice spells and AoE wind spells that you're going to need to heal through and avoid when possible while you get your damage in. Now the one ability that you want to be able to watch for and make sure you either dodge or block is the heavy ranged attack that the sister can use. When you see her readying this, you definitely want to dodge or block and then get right back to getting your damage in. Now as long as you can get enough damage in while healing yourself, this one should be over in about a minute, which brings us to our third boss in the dungeon. This third boss is Vearough the Shambler. Now he is similar to the first boss in that the main thing you need to watch out for is the heavy attack mechanic, but in this fight you will normally die to it at any time and not just during those times of increased attack. So you want to be sure to either dodge or block it any time you see it being ready. In addition to that, several adds will spawn during this fight that you should try to deal with either during those dodges and then get a swing in, or with AoE attacks. Lastly, there are two abilities that will make fire circles appear on the floor inside of this arena, and you want to avoid those red circles if at all possible, as curing through them can leave you in a vulnerable state. Now at the risk of a one-shot from this heavy attack, I normally choose to block during many abilities as opposed to weaving attacks in when things get kind of crazy, when there's a lot of adds in the room or red circles on the floor, so make sure you keep this in mind. It may make your run a bit longer, but it makes it much safer. We will speak again at the beginning of Boss 4. This brings us to the fourth boss, which is yet another that can one-shot you at any time during this run, so again, caution should be taken. As with the other bosses, the main mechanic here is to watch out for the heavy attack, which is even stronger than it was in the first and third bosses. Now this ability is always going to one-shot you unless you have a massive health pool, so extreme care must be taken to always block it. He will also use Lightning Call, which will constantly be putting lightning crackles at your feet. You want to try to conveniently move around the battlefield when this is up to take as little damage as possible. He will also summon Storm Atronarchs at times throughout the fight, and they need to be immediately killed for the fight to continue. He's also going to use a jump ability, where he will jump off the screen and then land at a new location. The new location that he's going to teleport to is going to show by a white light. Make sure you're not near that light, as when he lands, he may one-shot you if you're near it. Now the last ability he uses is near the end of the fight under 40% health. He will start to channel energy from the sky, and you will be continually taking damage regardless of where you are on the battlefield. Heal through this and continually get in as much damage as you can, as you don't need to worry about his heavy attacks during this phase. Now once it's over, go back to the usual strategy as he does as well. That should be it for taking on Boss 4. Enjoy the rest of the battle example, and we'll talk again on the fifth and final boss. Now here we are at the final boss of the dungeon, Mama C. Now this fight will put together all of the mechanics that we've learned in this dungeon thus far, and add some more. Now it's not an over-challenging final fight, as long as you are prepared for the different phases of it. First, let's talk about the abilities that you're going to see. Now each of the 4 witches that spawn can use a heavy attack that can do upwards of 20,000 damage if it lands, so make sure you block all of those. In addition, those thunder, wind, and fire circles that have been damaging you during all of the previous bosses are going to make a return here and follow you here as well, so make sure to keep moving around the arena so that they don't stack the damage on top of you. Lastly, there's going to be skeleton adds that spawn throughout this fight that you're going to need to deal with and take out, in addition to those 4 witches, so make sure you're on the lookout for them. Now while all those abilities are going off, you're going to need to deal with the mechanics of the fight. The witches will each start off shielded with the exception of one. That is the one that you must damage, and once her health is fully depleted, her shield's going to go back up, and another witch's will drop. You want to switch to that new unshielded witch, and take all of her health as quickly as possible. Continue this until all 4 witches have had all of their health depleted. When this happens, they will all start charging a spell in the middle of the room. Now you must quickly interrupt all 4 of them within about 15 seconds of them starting to cast this spell, or your fight will immediately be over and you're going to lose. Make sure you're saving enough stamina to interrupt all 4 of them. Once all 4 have been interrupted, the fight will continue, and another shield will drop on a witch. Deplete that witch's health of one that has dropped, as we did previously. But now as soon as she hits 0 health, she's going to put the shield back up, and they're all going to begin charging that spell again in the center of the room, making it so you must interrupt all 4 of them again, or once again your run's going to end. So once all 4 are interrupted, a second witch's shield will drop, and the process is going to continue until you deplete all of the health of the second, third, and fourth witches. After you deplete all 4 witches' health for a second time, and interrupt all of them for a 4th time, a 5th witch is going to spawn right in the middle of the room and start casting a final spell. It is at this time that you need to immediately switch to that 5th and final witch that has appeared and kill her as soon as possible, as you only have about 15 seconds to deplete her 20% health. If you don't deplete all of this health in time, you'll instantly die and you'll have to do the fight over again. Now I recommend saving things like ultimates for this final push. I failed to do so in my battle example that you're seeing now, and it almost cost me the run. Now it goes without saying, but all of these bosses have lots of damaging abilities going on at all times, so make sure to always keep those healing abilities going, and you should be able to finish off this dungeon without too much worry. That's about all I have to share on this one. Enjoy the rest of this final fight.
Scattered their wicker-clad lackeys, but I really wanted to crack at those.
Well, that's going to be it for the guide on the normal mode Icereach dungeon. I hope you found that helpful. Here's a brief run-through of the gear I used during this run in case you wanted specifics. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.